And when I got married, I just grew up. I realized, oh crap, I have to, take care of my wife. I can't just be a little boy anymore.
What is it like being a dad and having kids and running a business as well on top of that? What is it like just being a dad? Because that's a promotion on its own.
I think when I got married, I realized, my wife and I had talked about it, and I had told her that she doesn't have to work, but if she wants to work, she can. But I would be responsible for being the breadwinner. But if she wants to work, yeah, sure, go ahead, right? But I would give her the option not to, right? And therefore, I'd have to make the double income and all that stuff. And then, so I realized, well, I was only like, an entry-level job making 40 grand a year. And I was just like, oh, shoot, I can't live the same life that I did, which was, playing games all day, sleeping all day, like, being super lazy and just, wasting all my money, having no savings, not ambitious at all, and have no clue what I'm going to do with my life and that kind of stuff. I was just basically really childish, incredibly immature. And when I got married, I just grew up. I realized, oh crap, I have to, take care of my wife. I can't just be a little boy anymore, right?
Yeah.
So that was it basically motivated me to work my butt off and be resourceful and find ways to provide. And then when I got a child, that responsibility just hit the next level, and I just evolved basically. And I have to learn, okay, well, I've been studying it about relationships, but I didn't study much about parenting. I just know that I didn't want to parent my child the way my parents parented me. Not that my parents were bad parents, it's just that their parenting style, based on their knowledge and information at that time, was probably not the best fit for me. So they did their best. So I saw what they lacked, and I just tried to do the opposite of what they did. And as best as I could, obviously discuss that with my wife and create boundaries and rules and flexibility. And then it basically motivated me to work harder, to consider the family more and find ways to balance life. So that was the case there with the first child. And then I had just got into real estate at that time. And then it was just putting everything on the line. It was basically like burning the ships. Have you ever heard that story, burning the ships?
Yeah.
So I burned the ships, and there's no turning back. It's sink or swim.
Yeah.
So I was forced to swim. That was with the first child. The second child, I think with the first child, it was like you put all this effort and energy and you don't want to screw up. But second child is like, oh, you've had the experience before. So it's kind of like, oh, well, we know how the baby cries and we know how to change diapers. And it's kind of like, you kind of get relaxed a bit. If you talk to parents who've had like 5 children, it's like the first child, they're like so worried if the child falls. By the 5th child, it's like, oh, you didn't break your nose? Okay, you're fine. Like the 5th child, by the time the parents have the 5th child, they're like, oh, whatever. We paid attention to the second child, but not, we weren't as super careful as we were with the first child, like super worried, super anxious.
Wow, that's amazing. I wish I was your kid. It sounds like you have a very solid foundation for your children, and it sounds like you had a learning curve as well throughout the whole process. And, having kids is much like variables. There's so much variables goes on, and a lot of people have that concept of, having kids is easy, and it's not always that easy, and it takes 2 parties, and it's also your own personal experience, what you had as a child, and makes a difference in the next generation as well.
Yeah, and I agree, it's all about building the foundation. And things I've learned recently is that the foundation is something that has to be constantly rebuilt, because no one can build a perfect foundation. There's always some gaps, some holes, and then so you have to go back and refill and readdress those holes. And sometimes those holes are really big, and then you have to readdress and potentially rebuild a chunk of the foundation. My foundation with my wife and I, the marriage, my foundation with my relationship with my older child, I have to rebuild. My foundation with my younger child, I have to rebuild. It's always a constant building, and I think it's always about attitude. Things go by a lot easier, a lot more positive, a lot more uplifting, a lot more joyful.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point. It's not only it takes one person, it also takes two people to build a foundation, because if it's too hard to do a one foundation all the time, it takes two people to build.
That's right.
And communicating that and creating a strategy and then executing it at the same time, so that you guys are both on the same plane, so things are able to adjust later on.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of humility to admit that our foundation or needs work, and just like a business, right? You know, it's never perfect. You got to always tweak it. Times are changing, competition changes. You always have to keep up with the times, right? You know, education when I was a child is different from education system now, and that kind of thing. So we always have to be nimble and ready to adjust and be flexible. And as long as you're humble and willing to learn and actually take action and change and be willing to take small steps to change, I think anything is workable.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, you made a really good point, and I draw a certain conclusion is, you know, you treat your partner like your client, and you treat your kids like projects.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, I agree. And then your job as parents is to raise them to the point where they're self-sufficient, you know, and then they're not going to live with you forever. Hopefully they get married and they move out. But your wife, on the other hand, they're kind of like your VIP client that you have to, you know, work with for life.
Yeah.
Ideally, right? And then so it's different, right? It's different relationship, and obviously you can't the moment you mix that up.
Yeah, and it's totally true. And I talked to my viewer about the 5 language of love, and I know that you also support it within your relationship, which is also very great to understand not only about yourself, but also understand your partner as well. What does that mean to them, and vice versa? And I think that having that clear communication with both parties is very key, and also reviewing that on a regular basis or later on. I don't know how you do it, but if you found this video helpful, please share it with your friends, because sharing is caring. There is 3 things that you can do right now. You can subscribe to my newsletter, see the link below. When you're at there, go ahead, hit the like button, and remember to subscribe, because I post news, social media, and video every week. If you have an idea for a video, please leave it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.